Hear me okay?
Yes, Michelle, we can hear you here in the conference room, and we are just waiting for just a little bit longer, but we're getting really close.
Okay, do you want to just give us the go when you're ready?
You bet, we will.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, welcome everybody. We already had a sound check, so I guess everyone can hear us, and we could hear Michelle, so I would assume that everyone else online we can hear. One, I wanted to make sure, Tom, can you hear us? And I want to make sure we can hear you. Can you hear us, Tom? And Tanner as well. Can you both hear us?
I can hear you, Bill.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Sakovich is actually on his way in person. He thought it was only by Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So he'll be there in person.
We will pause then just for a second as he's walking over here.
Thank you.
Thank you. There he is. Okay, just in time. No problem. Yep, we talked with Lisa.
Yes.
Okay, welcome again. We have all three commissioners here. This is for the rental assistance program that the federal government's pushing out there, and we're going to have a presentation by MAG, Community Action. Hopefully I got that right. Community Action. Pardon me? Okay, they have not been able to make it. We'll probably get a presentation from them other than in this meeting, and our goal is to stretch these dollars as far as possible within our county. We have the ability to, as we partner with the state on this thing, to get a 55-45 match on it, which will be exciting to have that way. And of course, with the commissioners, we want to find and all the monies that we possibly can to put into the program for those in our county and have that need met as much as possible. So we will start. Michelle, you're on the line, and go ahead. One thing, if I can just point this out, we are not looking for dollar numbers in this meeting. It's just what services you're looking at providing. And then afterwards, if you would give us dollar amounts. But for now, we're not looking for dollar figures, but just what you would provide in the services, to administer this.
Okay.
Commissioner Lee, can you also just, I'm not sure who's all there in the chambers,
Oh, okay.
and then maybe we can do intros to anyone who's on the Zoom who's
Very
not
good.
normally part
Absolutely.
of it.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner. So we've got both Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Sakovich here. We've got Peter Brown here, Jeremy Walker's here, Amelia Powers is here, and Josh Daniels is here. Alice and and our support staff is here. And I can't remember your first name. Daniel is here as well. That's what we have in the commission conference chambers. And then who else do we have online? Yeah.
I see Ezra, Alicia, Andrew, Robert, Karen, and then David. Oh, that's the Shepherd. Okay, I see there.
Commissioner Ames, you do have David Robinson, Tom Hogan, and I'm Karen McCandless. We're all from Community Action.
Awesome.
Oh, very good.
Thanks, Karen.
Welcome. Good to have you there. Here, or wherever there, and here.
Yeah, Commissioner Rob Moore, County Attorney's Office, here as well.
Oh, great. Is that everybody, Alice, that you can see? Brian and Ezra. Okay. All right, Michelle.
Okay, thank you. Can everyone see my screen that I've shared?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, just for a brief background so everybody's on the same page with the emergency rental assistance program is, this came about through the latest COVID-19 relief package, and the purpose is to assist households that are unable to pay rent and utilities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Households have to meet 3 requirements to be eligible for the program. They have to have 1 or more individuals qualified for unemployment benefits or experience a reduction in household income incurred significant costs or experienced other financial hardships due to the pandemic. The household can has to demonstrate a risk of homelessness or housing instability, and the household income is below 80% of the area median income. Jurisdictions must also give priority to applicants with household incomes below 50% area median income, or with household members who are unemployed at the time of application. So there are spend down requirements for the ERA program. When we were reached out to several weeks ago by Amelia about the possibility of administrating this program, we started reading the guidance, we started participating in the state meetings, and looking up best practices on how to implement these types of programs. By September 30th, all grantees, so grantee is considered the state, city, or town, or the tribe who receives these funds, are required to spend down 65% of their allocation. If by September 30th they have not spent down 65% of the allocation, the Treasury Secretary is required to recapture those unspent funds and reallocate them to the grantees who are spending the funds down. So with Utah County's $19.2 million, what this looks like is $12.5 million needs to be obligated and out the door by September 30th. That equates to just under $1.8 million per month if you consider the program up and going by March 1st. Hopefully it could happen in February and then through September. This means that you're processing and having to approve between 1,000 and 1,500 applications per month. And that's based on just an average of about $1,200 monthly rent. However, some applicants, you're paying back rent, chunks of back rent, say 3 months, and then you can pay forward rent as well based on qualifications. So this is just a ballpark. Approximately 60%, in speaking to other agencies who run these programs before, 60% of submitted applications have technical issues. They're lacking documentation, they didn't provide all the information. So 60% of the applications submitted require technical assistance and follow-up. So that 1,000 to 1,500 is what you actually have to approve and get out the door as a completed application to meet that spend down requirement. As I mentioned, we have been joining in on the state calls. We've also been reaching out to other programs around the country to see how they've administered the programs. We've been reaching out to different software companies who specialize in the ERA program. And the reason why we initiated this meeting today is as we've participated in the state's call, we have some concerns about their process. And then this list of pros and cons, this is not about quantity. Perhaps some of the cons in the program, if Utah County went on their own and did the program, perhaps those cons to the commission and to the county far outweigh the list of cons on the left. But I just want to point out a few things. So everybody's on the same page. The state of Utah is leading a statewide effort called Utah Rent Relief. The state received $147 million through this COVID package, and then 4 counties, including Utah County and Salt Lake City, all received money. Weber County declined that money, so that money will go to the state. So the state has a statewide portal, and they created this portal so all tenants and landlords throughout the state can come to one portal and apply for this process. They're also talking about a statewide marketing effort. I put an asterisk next to that because we were on the marketing call last Thursday, and as of yet, they don't really have a marketing plan. They do plan on holding a press conference with DWS and the Salt Lake County Mayor and Salt Lake City Mayor. They threw around the idea of possibly having some billboards and possibly having some printed materials. Another pro to the state program, they would be responsible for duplication of benefits. So all these counties and Salt Lake City that have their own pots of fund, you cannot also fund tenants and landlords that the state is funding. And so there has to be that data match up to make sure there's not a duplication of benefit. Some of the cons that we've have concerns about with the state program.
Sorry, Michelle. Can I just ask, because I'm not sure I've been in the loop, this is helpful. So for example, if we had not applied and received this $19 million. It would not have gone to another, it would have gone to the state.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes.
And
But
then the state, do they have requirements of distributing this in the counties on the per cap? Okay, they don't.
no, and so that's on my con list. It's a first come, first served basis through the portal. So if, say, Salt Lake City really has a team, they are ready to answer phone calls, they are ready to process 1,500 applications per week, that money goes to them. First come, first served. They've stated that in all the calls. And so that is a big concern, and it's hard to plan for as well. With that state money, with the agencies that are working through the state, how do you staff it? How do you plan for how many applications? So that's one of our big concerns, Commissioner.
Hey, Michelle, I just
And
want
I
to
assume-
make sure that, Peter, you knew that if you have any questions, just come on up and ask as we're going, or Jeremy or Amelia.
So, Michelle, am I right to assume that all of the counties, even those who received a direct allocation, were on this call, and that Salt Lake County, for example, is trying to decide whether they want to do their own or be a part of the state?
So Salt Lake County will be putting their applications through the state portal. So maybe I should back up. Just because the state has the portal, it's still up to the individual counties to pull their applications from the portal and do the review. The state will not be reviewing and approving applications from the county. They'll be approving some landlord applications with their $147 million, but they're relying on the counties, the city, and the local nonprofits to pull applications from the portal, review them, do the follow-up with the applicants, reach out, get any missing documentation, and then approve them. The state will not be doing that.
Got it. So Salt Lake will be a part of the portal, but they will be doing their own review process.
Correct. And in Davis County, Salt Lake City, and I forgot the other county.
Well, there's not even an opportunity for the state to do the review process, is what I understand. The counties are going to have to do it, or the counties have to do the review process.
Yeah, the state is relying on the local, the counties and the nonprofits to do all of the reviewing of the applications. So my next point is the admin costs. Well, I don't want to skip over the admin costs. So the state has thrown around the dollar amount of $6 per check, because if you choose to use the state's portal, you are required to go through the state's check processing system. And so they have thrown out the number of $6 per check that it would cost the county to run, but there'd also be additional admin costs through the state, as well as marketing costs. And Commissioner Lee, I do want to speak to that point about possibility of the 55% match from the state. It's not really a match. The state received $147 million. And so what I think they're saying is that if they fund a $1,000 rental application, the state would use 550 of their funds, or whatever, 550, and then the county would use 450. So that would put the county behind in trying to spend down their $19.2 million, because the state needs to spend down their money to not lose it in September, and the county needs to spend down their money. So it's not really a match.
Well, but it's a stretch of the dollars, right? So I think we're going off the assumption that we're not going to have enough to spend down the money. But what if we have more than enough? Then why would we not want to have the state put in the 55%?
The conversations that I have been involved in is that this is a lot of money. This is over $220 million that's coming into the state. The last time they ran this program, they're still running another round. Luckily, the Treasury extended the deadline, and the first round, I have my notes here, was approximately $26 million, and they've been trying to get that money out and Karen, jump in if I'm wrong, approximately 10 to 11 months. So we're talking about almost 10 times the amount of funds.
So our assumption then is that if we go with the state, we're not going to get that that drawdown. We're not going to make that goal of that drawdown. Is that?
It's yeah, that's a concern. It's a concern that the county would end up returning whatever unused money by September, and it would go to another grantee.
Is there any way, can we pick and choose? Can we pick and choose if we're going to draw it down or not? Or no?
I'm not sure I understand your
Well,
question.
can we go along with the state, like I said, can we go along with the state's program for a month and then say, no, we're gonna go back the other direction and we're gonna pay for it all?
You could try. It would probably it'd set you back because then you'd have to set up your own processes, and there will be some advertising. But I mean, it's a possibility. Karen, I heard you try to jump in. Did you clarify something?
I just want to clarify something, is that I put this in the chat, but Community Action will be reviewing Utah County applications not affiliated with Utah County funding at this point. So let's say that you as a county decide to do your own program. There are still going to be people who will apply for assistance through the state portal. And Community Action Services and Food Bank in Provo, we will be the ones responsible for processing those applications for Utah County residents.
That's what I wanted to comment on. Can you pull that comment up on the chat real quick? Is it Karen from Community Action? I think I tried to get a hold of you guys on Friday. But in my conversations with the state, they talked to me about the possibility of extending your ability to help if we decide to do our processing through the state, and or if we did a contract with you to assess Utah County applications. Is that something that you're familiar with or have heard about?
I've heard about it very preliminarily. I haven't had a lot of discussion on details.
But that's an option.
I think it's an option. I would imagine it would be something that I believe that we would be open to discussing. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
So Michelle, I know I was asking the dumb questions at the start, and so this is just helpful for me to get oriented. That basically both of these, even this state option on the left here, it's still, the county still has a role. This is basically what I saw in the initial draft of what MAG was going to do, is MAG was going to be an extra layer on top of the county participating in the state portal, right? And then the option on the right is you're saying, now we're still asking MAG to do it, but now there's not even a tie-in with the state portal.
So we initiated this meeting. We had been in the conversations of possibly administering the program, so we started participating in the state calls, thinking that that was the direction everyone was going, but we have concerns about the state's program, and so we initiated this meeting to bring these concerns to the commission to decide, does the commission, the county, want to still go with the state, or do they want to have their own rental assistance program? And I'd like to have the opportunity to describe what that would look like.
I know, but again, all I'm trying to figure out is what we were told as commissioners of the dialogue was happening, if I understand it correctly, was MAG it was the option on the left with MAG assisting.
So we didn't even know there was a state program going on until a couple of weeks into, drafting up what the program would look like. And so, yes, if you go with the state, that's great. That's an option. That's why.
I'm not advocating, Michelle. I'm not trying to ask or advocate either way. I'm not trying to say I have an opinion. I'm just trying to make sense of, because I saw some emails come through from Andrew, and so I'm just trying to make sure I have all the information. Andrew, your email was describing the situation on the left. Is that right?
Yes,
I know that we're going to
correct.
hear about a new situation now, which I'm really open to hearing about. I just wanted to make sure I'm following.
Yeah, that's correct. What we were told was that the state would go live today, and we were wanting to make sure that everything was set up so if the state was going live today to take applications, Utah County residents wouldn't be disadvantaged because there was nothing set up. And then we found out, I think it was either late Thursday or Friday, that the state was not going to go live. And not only were they not going to go live today, but they don't have a date as to when they are going to open up for applications. They don't even have a ballpark. And so that's where we've been talking about, well, maybe since the state's being delayed, maybe we look at the option on the right.
Yep. No, I'm happy to hear. I just want to make sure I was catching up to where you guys have been
Yes.
over the last couple of weeks.
Exactly.
This is Karen at Community Action again. I just wanted to give another piece of information to confuse it some more. We have a contract with the state of Utah to provide emergency rental assistance to Utah Summit Wasatch County residents through the end of June. Right now, that contract is for a little over $1 million, and the purpose of that funding is to provide assistance while the state continues to develop its portal. So right now, there is COVID-related rent assistance money available for Utah County residents. They need to email or call us or come down and pick up an application. So that kind of is running in the background until the state gets its rent portal up and running. So I just don't want you to think that Utah County residents are without anything right now. No, there is money available to assist them.
Correct, but we still have the same burn down requirements of the September 30th, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Commissioner Ainge, I wanted to help answer your question a little bit on the different options, because when we first heard about this, the state was looking at just providing sort of the front end and then maybe the deliverable with respect to the checks. But in between, we were going to be relying upon either our processes, and obviously MAG was a huge part of that we'd kind of just assume would be involved. And then we found out as well on Thursday and Friday, the state was working on an option that involved community action that would be kind of an entire package. And so we just want to make you aware of that. That's one of the reasons why we're a little confused, is because they were kind of going one direction and we kind of thought they were going to only take a portion of it. And now we've learned they've got another option where they're going to do the whole thing.
Okay, thanks.
So, okay, when you mean do the whole thing, the calls that we attended on Thursday, it was that it would be up to the counties to decide how to review these thousands of applications and do follow-up. So can you define do the whole thing?
So it's that middle portion, so the assessment of the applications and determining whether or not people qualify, and then, because they're doing it already through community action, and so they gave us the option saying that that's part of that application process. So if we decided to go with the state for everything, that the 45-55 split, essentially they would just look at these applications, assess them through their processes, and then bill us for the 45%. That's what they told me. And this was a Friday conversation that we had late. So I'm just trying to make sure that everybody's aware of all of the different options that they've kind of rolled out. And that
So you're just identifying as meeting host. Who's speaking?
Sorry, this is Peter Brown, over the COVID-19 funds, Utah County.
Okay, so you're saying that you met with the state on Friday, and they said that they've got a deal that they're doing with community action where they can just do it all through them?
Correct.
So Karen, I guess my question is, we had discussed earlier about the staff capacity that it would take to process $19 plus million worth of rental assistance applications. Do you want to address that?
Sure. Thank you. We've been doing some calculations. We didn't know what what Utah County, the commissioners would decide. And so we made our calculations based on only participating at the state with what the state had. And at that point, we figured that we would need 10 full-time equivalent case managers, 3 full-time data people, and 2 phone people. Without, just because last year, from March until actually July 1 through December, for 6 months, we processed applications. We had separate phone individuals. We had one person dedicated to just taking status phone calls. We learned a lot. It's very staff intensive, and we work hard to have a wraparound approach. So when people come to us, we ask them we talk to them and see if they have other services available that they could utilize. Last year, the money came to Community Action, and Community Action actually cut the checks. So we were able in that 6 months to, we had a contract for about $1.3 million, and we were able to, and we were swamped. We were getting 500 inquiries a week at Community Action for this assistance. This program that what we're dealing with right now, I think what Michelle was referring to, is this program that the state is proposing is a bit different this time. If you look down in the middle of the cons on the Utah rent relief side, it says those with no internet, computer, email, are at a disadvantage. So as we prepare to participate in the state rent relief program, that is our focus. We have clients who don't even have email addresses. They don't have phones. They don't have computer access. We have clients who don't have scanner access. I have a scanner, and I'll be darned if I can remember how to use it, and I'm not in crisis. And so what we're working and focusing on for this round is to have the equipment necessary and the staff and the training necessary to help people get their applications submitted into the portal. And you'll see some of the other things that it says down toward the bottom, the applicants have 16 hours to make corrections. There's certain documents that need to be submitted. And we as case managers and those at Community Action, we work hard with our clients to make sure that they get the right documentation. But sometimes it can take several phone calls back and forth, running papers in, or else they may be having them find a friend who has a phone who can take a picture of a lease agreement and send it in. So we really don't know what that's going to look like yet. As I talked to Michelle, one thing I really liked about what MAG was doing was it was mobile based. You can see, I don't know if it's on here. State application is not mobile friendly. That's the other thing too, is many of our clients that do have technological access, it's through a mobile phone or smartphone. And the state's application isn't something that they can currently use on that. Whereas Utah County, what Michelle was describing to me, is mobile based, it's internet based, it reduces the barriers that clients will face as they attempt to apply for rent assistance. So Michelle, did I cover your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. And if I may just briefly go over the rest of the cons, thank you, Karen, for pointing those things out. Again, one of the biggest concerns we had was that the application was not mobile friendly. So as Karen mentioned, they either have to have a desktop or a laptop, a scanner, some way to convert their hard files into some kind of PDF, or go to a location that has a kiosk set up, possibly wait in line and sit at the kiosk and enter their own information. The state program is first come, first serve. I had mentioned that earlier. Also, the state portal, there's no flexibility in application requirements. The Treasury does have guidelines and requirements, but some of the best practices are not requiring specific pieces of paper, pay stubs, things like that. With the state's program, they have a list of required documents. If you don't upload them, you're not going to pass through the new screen, or as your application is being reviewed, it's going to get kicked back to you. only state staff can access any reports. When we managed the $20 million for the economic recovery program, we were running reports for mayors, the county, several times a week. They would call us up, want to know how many applications, by zip code, types of businesses. We were able to get that within one business day. The portal will not allow any users except state staff to have access to any of that information. Another concern is applications through the state portal do not save as you go. So an applicant can be right in the middle of an application, they get distracted, computer goes, internet goes out, whatever, that application is wiped. You cannot go back and finish your application. As Karen mentioned, applicants have 16 hours to make corrections. So what we have learned is that 60% of applications need corrections. So that applicant will receive an email through the state portal to click on and provide their corrections, but that link expires after 16 hours. So if they worked all day, maybe they worked a graveyard, they come home, go to sleep, they finally get to check their email, and that link is expired. And then again, there's no Utah County branding, and the application is not available in any other languages, which I think next to the not being mobile friendly is a huge barrier. When we were first reached out to possibly administer this program, and before we knew the state was encouraging everyone to go through the state portal, the program that we envisioned would be a Utah County specific emergency rental assistance program modeled after the $20 million in the economic recovery that we funded approximately 1,500 businesses and about 50 nonprofits. It would have a dedicated helpline for Utah County residents. It would be mobile friendly, so you could deploy your case manager team, your intake specialists all over the county. You could go to the nonprofits that are serving these individuals. You can go to the senior centers, the city hall with an iPad, and they could bring all of their hard copy paper. You take a picture on the iPad, it uploads it onto the software that we had been researching. So there's no barriers to applications with no internet, computer, and smartphones, because you go where they are and they don't have to stand in line to use a desktop or a laptop and a scanner. Staff is there helping, just taking photos, uploading their documents. With the county's own program, county staff, whoever administers the program has access to all the data. They can run reports at will. There's flexibility on the application requirements. As I've said, the National Institute of Low-Income Housing recommends flexibility, so you are serving those that are most needed for the program. Application is available in over 60 languages. When you log on, you have up to 60 languages that you can choose from. And then I mentioned staff being deployed countywide, and then partnerships. This is so much money, and reaching these people reaching the beneficiaries that are most in need is going to take more than a news conference. You're going to need partnerships with nonprofits, all of your jurisdictions to send this out in your utility building, their city mailings, and then of course the school districts. They can deploy all this information to their families that go to their schools. The cons, and these cons could outweigh the cons on the left. The duplication of benefits is a concern. The county would have to work with the state to make sure they're not duplicating benefits, but also already the state's going to have to work with Provo. Provo is going to be running a much smaller program, but they are running a program, and those beneficiaries can't double dip from the programs.
Just wanted to make sure that Provo did receive, they applied for and received their own pot, is that right?
So they did not receive this particular funding. This only went to jurisdictions with 200,000 or more residents. Provo is using the CDBG COVID money and some other funding, but they're still running an emergency rental assistance program that was funded through CARES money. So there's still that duplication of benefits concern.
So then the objective would be to avoid duplication on that program, but not necessarily to exclude Provo.
Correct. Yep. So the state already, so Provo, so if the county goes with the state program, The state will still have to work with Provo to run some kind of reports and match them up to make sure they're not funding the same tenants and landlords in Provo. And then another con is if the state does get a marketing program together and they advertise Utah rent relief and one helpline, Utah County residents will still be able to apply because they have $147 million. So some of that money will come to Utah County. But for the countywide program, there would be efforts to make sure to distinguish the program. And that wraps it up.
So
I just had is it okay if I just ask Peter Brown a question? I just want to make sure I understand what your meeting was with the state, or the outcome of your meeting was with the state on Thursday or Friday. So there's about 19 million that's coming as a direct allocation to Utah County. And the state says that if you go with them through community action, they will add 55% or like $23 million to that. Is that what they were saying?
Yeah, so the 45-55 split had to do with who we went with in terms of assessment. So if we went with the state's program, they would go through community action. Now, they told us that we could set up our own contract. I mean, this is all new to community action, it sounds like. But they also told us that if we wanted to, we could set up an assessment scenario with another, vendor like MAG. So they basically just gave us a basket of options because they're trying to develop a system where it's, from alpha to omega, they can handle it. And if the counties or the cities want to, pay for those services, that will be available. And we were just having a conversation about the different options. And so, it's obviously our job to try to look at all the different options and present it. And this is good because
so they were talking about there's a 19 million that you're getting as a direct allocation, and then they'll add 23 million to your 19 million.
We didn't talk about the number exactly, but basically what they said is as they make a determination on whether somebody should get rental assistance, they would bill us 45% of the award.
But that has to do with spend down, though. I mean, it's not technically a match. They're spending down their funds, and
Right.
with also first come, first serve. Again, if Utah County does not have systems in place to review, process, and accept application at a substantial rate, those funds will go somewhere else in the state.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
But that 55-45 splits 23 million state to 19 million county.
Well, I think that's been asked, and Peter's given the response he can at this time. But
Okay.
But that's a similar question that I had is, Commissioner Lee raised this point about, Michelle, so you have the 45-55 on your list as a con, right? And my understanding of why you're saying that's a con is because of the spend down issue, right? And so I get that. I get why that's a con. But it's got to be on the pro side, too, if I'm understanding this right, in that we have the ability to leverage our dollars in a much more significant way through the state.
You can look at it that way. As I mentioned before, the state has over $220 million in emergency rental assistance flowing that has to be out by September 30th. When they had $27 million, they have not got all that money out yet. They've opened up another round. And the only reason they haven't lost that money is because it's been extended.
Sure. So I understand there's a spend down issue, but then that makes me think about all the tools that we have at our disposal here to say, because it's such a big difference of getting this extra 55% or not, that gives us a huge cushion to try to supplement what the state's doing, to try to advertise and make sure there's traffic on the spend down, right? And it's like, to Andrew's point, 23 million. We could go spend I know we got to worry about the 10% issue, but we could go spend, $3 million right now just generating people there, or making sure that Utah County specific people are at the state portal, and it's still a huge win for us relative than funding all of those on our own.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if that 23 million is the funding that community action is going to get to the state. So there's the direct allocation to Utah County, which is a 19 million. And then there's a state allocation within Utah, Wasatch, and Summit counties that community action is going to get. And I'm wondering if that 23 million isn't additional money that would not be coming to
Andrew?
Utah County residents.
Andrew, this is Karen. I just talked to somebody about this, I asked them a question about this just like an hour before this meeting. I asked one of our contacts at the state, I said, well, will community action receive a chunk of money of the state funding to use within its service area? And I was told no. I was told that it's first come, first served statewide. So what it looks like right now is the way that they're kind of leaning toward is having us, they have the portal, and then our case managers will have some helping clients submit applications, and we have other case managers pulling applications from our service area off the portal. And one of the things being kicked around is a fee for service, saying for every application we process, our agency gets X number of dollars. They figured, and so when we calculated that, we figured our space costs are, we don't do indirect costs at community action. And so our staff time and technology, all that, we incorporated into that number, and I don't know what that number is off the top of my head. But anyway, that's how I heard it might be like, but it changes constantly. And so I don't know, but we're not going to get our own pot. Like our service area is not going to get its own pot of money like we did last year, as far as I know.
So Andrew,
Okay.
I'm glad that you raised that issue, because I started to see the path you're going down. Said differently, the county could have a huge obligation if that were the case. Because basically what you're saying is the state would be planning to bill the county for applications that they process through community action.
No, so I think there would be two allocations. So you get your direct allocation plus on those that you don't spend out of the county's direct allocation. So those that would come through community action, they would be a first come, first serve out of the state's pool, if you will.
Yep.
But if you're saying that you've got the $19 million plus the state says they'll give you 23 on top of that, I don't know why you wouldn't do that, other than if the state's not going to roll it out for a while and you want to get things out. But if you're more than doubling your money, I think that's a no-brainer.
Well, and Andrew, I think your point, I think it was a fair question to ask on community action side, but even on the spend down on it, if for some reason we only were to accomplish half of it in the way of services or the monies that were provided to the county, we'd still get a full benefit because the state's coming in at that 55% if we had to turn that money back. And so if we go to half, I'm just throwing out, I haven't done the math, but it's somewhere around half, then everything over and above that becomes a benefit to the county because we do have the monies that we can pay out still.
I would strongly encourage you to clarify for the state, because we've been participating in these calls for over a month, and that's never been mentioned to any of the counties involved, nor the state staff, that there would be any kind of match. They probably would put a portion to the state, so the state could spend down their money, but we've never heard any kind of discussion in that regard.
Sorry, Michelle, was that your slide or was that our slide that was up at the start?
Well, it had been mentioned, and that's why I put it up to clarify that it's not really a match. It's the state making sure that they're spending down their allocation as well. leaving Utah County to have to process double the applications in order to spend down their money by September.
So,
Yeah, because I had heard Commissioner Lee on the COVID call earlier today that said that the state was matching 55%. And so I had said that to Michelle. And so, hey, if that's what they're doing, like I said, I don't know how you could go any other way.
again, Michelle, where I'm getting lost is I need you to connect the dots for me between, because this was your slide. So you're saying there is something on the 45-55. You're not saying it's a match, but even the way I was reading your slide, let's not call it a match. I still feel like those things Commissioner Lee said are true.
So the reason I added it to that slide is because Andrew told me that was announced during the 2 o'clock COVID call. And so I was addressing how that might possibly play out. In all of the calls that we've participated in the past month, never have the counties or Salt Lake City been told there was any kind of match to the county money, that it was first come, first served, and they never defined when an application came in through a county that received their own allocation or Salt Lake City, what percent would come from the state and what percent would come from the county and how that would work. So again, the only reason I put that up there is because we had heard today that was being talked about on the COVID call.
So to rephrase, maybe you didn't there's not much research that went into that. Like you have never heard anything about 45-55, anything prior to today.
No, and we've been participating in these calls for over a month.
Okay, thank you.
We heard it for the first time on Friday, so we can circle back to them and get some more clarification.
Okay, sounds like we still have a bunch of questions. And I would assume, Peter, you'll probably run that and ask those questions and find out for sure on it. If we get those answered, then we'll probably have to continue again and have a discussion on where we go, from here. But at least we're starting that process, and let's see if we can get it done probably sooner than later. I don't know when the state's planning. When's the state going to roll out? We're kind of tagging to that. Are they saying March 1st now, or we still don't know? They've given no date?
They are non-committal right now. First it was February 1st, then it was February 8th, and now they have said that they will not be giving a date. They're still developing the portal and the systems and trying to figure out the actual admin costs that it will cost the counties and the state.
Okay. But yet the time's still ticking on the spend down on this too, so.
So maybe just to kind of help round out what we're doing on our end is that, basically we're looking at a bunch of different options that, between the state and between our partners. They said that we have the ERA gives us the ability to make all these decisions. They're just saying we have a bunch of different options. The state can do all these different things, or you can do it on your own. You can contract with MAC to do some of this stuff, all of this stuff, or community action. There's an option there. And so what we're trying to do is look at the value. And the state hasn't given us what they're going to be charging us on some of these things. Once we get that, and then we can also look at, one of the things that was good about this meeting is that, it's not just the price, but the value and the turnaround of some of these application processes. We need to look at that as well and then come up with a kind of a basket of options for you.
So to kind of wrap this up then, Peter, you're going to start looking down through that, asking the state and kind of nailing that down for us so that we can at least understand what's actually out there, and then we can move forward. I mean, like Andrew said, if we do have that option for a 55%, that seems like a no-brainer for us to a certain extent. So, but if it's not on the table, then we've really got to turn around and go a different direction. Okay.
And the only
And if I could just say, at MAG, we're easy. We're just trying to help out. So, whatever the commission wants, we're happy to do it. If it works out to where you're getting a bigger match from the state, man, go ahead and do that. Couldn't fault anybody for that. otherwise, we're happy to work with community action, work with the communities that are also providing some rental and utility assistance, and just making sure we're not double dipping. And just like I said, we're here to help. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And make those decisions that are best.
Yep, thank you.
I was curious that, we don't have to talk about it now, but maybe if there's alliance between Community Action and MAG and, on this whole process, that would be the first thing that Karen and Andrew could figure out. But it seems whether there's a match or not, it would be best that we had a game plan set in motions, or at least prepared to set in motion. So as soon as the cash becomes available, we can get started on this. Because even if we can't use all the funds up, we have to return it, at least we get it started. We're not tripping over ourselves between Provo or the state.
Definitely. And Community Action and MAG, we work great together. We're good friends, so we'll work out great.
Good. Okay, well, we'll go to the next step and ask the questions and then come back from there. I know that the commission, as we've talked about this, our overarching goal on this was to find a way for the individuals in Utah County to get the best bang for the buck out of there and stretch it as far as possible, so that we could assist more, even those who don't have the internet. If we can reach down in there, that was our goal. However we get to that point, I think we're willing to go that direction, and we want to find that find that best path. And that best path may be different, may be the same, who knows, or a combination. But I think if we can get there, I think that's our overarching goal, is to get to that point. So,
And,
go ahead, Tanner.
My comments would be that I appreciate you, Michelle, and Andrew jumping on and working through this. Again, I spent some time at the front of this call trying to understand what the old model looks like. Sounds like we've learned, and maybe there's some benefits to going to the new model. I can see some of those same pros and cons that you've kind of put forward, and I could go either way, and I would want to look at our clerk auditor staff and get their perspective on it, or maybe there's kind of a hybrid in the middle, but it's clear that we got to figure out if there is a $23 million issue or not, right? If there's not, then it leans way more toward, considering the county option that you have on the right. If that is an issue, then it seems like we've got 23 million reasons why to try to figure out how not to make that state one on the left work somehow, or to help supplement it.
Right. All right, very good. I think since we're in a public meeting, we probably need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you all so much.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry, Tanner. I'm getting now. Alice. Oh, you know what? Thank you, Alice. On our agenda item is to ratify the calling of this special meeting, and so we should at least do that while we're here. So if I could have a motion first to
Make a
to
motion to ratify this.
Oh,
I'll make a motion
Go ahead,
to
Tom.
ratify this meeting, this
second.
agenda item.
I got a motion and a second to ratify that. I think that's just the number one on our agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 That passes 3-0. Final motion.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now adjourned. Thank you.